In the meantime, it's my pleasure to welcome all of our listeners to the very first coaches show that we're having on Wildcat 91.9. So for the next 20-ish minutes, let's say 13, up to about the next 6:20, we're going to be having one of the women's soccer coaches. Coach Dawn Trentham is the assistant head coach for the women's soccer team, and we here at Wildcat 91.9 are excited to begin our endeavor to call K-State women's soccer games starting next week against Colorado State. But in the meantime, they do have a game at 7 p.m. this Friday at Boozer Family Park against Yale, coming all the way from the Eastern Seaboard. Coach, welcome to the station. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kolby. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. JP, we've also got Mr. JP Cardenas on the show. It's great to have him on here as well. Thank you for being here, JP.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Coach, we're going to jump right into it. So what do you think has been the theme of the team leading into this season? I was able to go to the Women's Soccer Media Day and was kind of able to ask some questions. So the squad last year missed the Big 12 tournament by one game and a heartbreaker to Iowa State in the final minutes of the season. What did that mean to your team, and how did that influence the grit that they've displayed so far in 2022?
Yeah, I think, obviously disappointed last year the way it ended against Iowa State. But I think as a coaching staff, what we were really excited about was some of the leaders from last year's team. They came in within a day or two. They were in our office saying, hey, we want to get to the Big 12 tournament, and what do we need to do? So they started working right away in terms of working together, some team bonding and training out on the field once we got to spring season, and just really having the goal of getting to the Big 12 tournament. So everything's been about that. Coming into this year, we're every day that's the talk is how do we get there, and how do we grow, and how do we get better?
Yeah. Eyes on the prize, right? You have to keep that forward momentum regardless of what kind of games you have going on in the pre-conference play. So then who do you think the team is that's going to step to the forefront of Big 12 play early? And do you have any contenders that maybe we wouldn't be anticipating as the viewers?
Yeah, I think right now if you look at it on paper, TCU, the defending champ, and Texas, those are probably the two front runners right now, and they've looked pretty strong during the non-conference play. TCU beat Santa Clara, who won a national championship a couple of years ago. They beat them 7-0 a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
So they've definitely put themselves out there as probably one of the favorites. In terms of teams to watch, I'm going to say K-State.
Yeah.
I think we're a team to watch.
For sure.
I think we're hungry. I think we have a lot of returners on this team, a lot of good leadership, senior leadership that wants to get there. They've been in this program. We got to remember this program's only going into its 7th season.
Yeah.
And some of these seniors, if you count their COVID year, they're in their 5th, 6th year here. So they've been here since the beginning. And they're in a spot to get to that tournament, so they're excited about that.
That's awesome. So on your roster, you currently have 12 freshmen. Overall, as a class, how has their performance been in your mind during the season so far?
Yeah, I think it's been good. There's, I'd say, 3 or 4 that are stepping up immediately, and Sophie Harlan, a player from Kansas City, is one that comes to mind. She's done one. Well, Andra Moeller down from Oklahoma has stepped in and done really well. Jasmine Brown has had some starts at defense for us. So it's really good to see some freshmen coming in and making an impact immediately. But I think all of that, our seniors again, our juniors, the players that came into our office at the end of last year, they've been really great in helping those young players out too. I think the success of any team, Coach Dabini talks about all the time, is going to be the leadership from your players and your older players, and we have some good leaders this year.
Now, Coach, you meant with the 12 freshmen, barring any injuries and hoping that everything goes well, that means in 3 short years you're going to have 12 seniors. You could have a full starting roster of seniors. What is that like? What are your hopes, I guess, for this season for those freshmen, and how are you going to let those seniors just develop them and kind of mold them into like a strong, solidified team that has connections, that has the chemistry.
Yeah, I think one of the things our seniors take pretty serious is leaving a legacy here, and they certainly want to leave that legacy by getting to the Big 12 tournament. But we talk to them a lot about leaving their legacy on the impressions they're making on the younger players. So you mentioned the 12 freshmen. I think there's a lot of mentorship that has to go along, not only from the coaches, but more importantly from our older players in this team. And they're out there every day coming to work hard in training, work hard in games, kind of set a standard and show those younger players what it's about. And it's freshmen you get thrown in right away, and we do have 3 or 4 that are getting some starts right now, and quite a few others that are getting some playing time. If we have all 12 of them starting in 4 years, JP, that'll be really good. That'll be amazing.
It's something that's incredible. And having that young talent right now, what do you think the pace of the game is going to be this upcoming game here? Because I don't know how Colorado State plays necessarily, but what do you think? How are you going to want to dictate the game early on?
Yeah, and I think again, Colorado State coming up next Thursday, and then I think right now coming up this Friday we'll start with Yale, and that's our first opponent. Our school, K-State, we've never played an Ivy League program. And Yale certainly gives us a big test. They're undefeated right now, 3 wins and a tie. They're playing well. They're not giving up a lot of goals, and they're getting results. So they're going to be coming in here to win. I think anytime you play a team that's undefeated, they want to stay undefeated. So That'll be a big test for us. And we don't know a lot about Yale because we just don't have the history with them or anybody in their league. Moving forward, our game after that will be against Colorado State, and Colorado State. Their coach is in her second year out there and is doing some really good things with that program. We went out there last year in Fort Collins and were able to get a win and played really well. So I think Colorado State will definitely be coming to Manhattan looking to get one back from a game they lost last year.
So you're the recruiting coordinator for the women's soccer team, and I don't want to get you in trouble by any sense of the imagination. So if any of these questions you're like, I can't, then just, I get it. So I'm curious about your opinion, though. So K-State athletics, especially like K-State football, American football, not football, has a strong tradition of recruiting in-state and winning the battle at home for top recruits, especially with one of the new players that they just picked up. He's a top 5 recruit for K-State football in the state. What's your philosophy on in-state recruiting, and who has been a standout in in-state recruiting in the history of the program so far?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, great win from football over the weekend. That was fun to watch, and just seeing everybody in the stadium, and it's really neat to see them doing it with a lot of in-state players, and that's where we're always going to start. We're always going to start from in and then go out.
Awesome.
And there's some great players here in Kansas. One of the best players in the history of our program, Brooklyn Entz, was from just outside of down in Newton, so just outside of Wichita, and she got drafted by the KC Current, and
nice. She's
over in Europe now. She's not playing with the Current, but that's a player right here in state. So between Wichita and Topeka, and then you got the whole Kansas City metro area. There's a lot of good players, and even looking into our roster right now, we have a lot of good players from Kansas. So we're always going to start inside the state, because I think one of the great things, I think every player that ever comes to play for K-State, they play for the Wildcats. They're proud to be here. This is a special place. But I think when you get an in-state player, they play that much harder.
For sure.
So we certainly got a lot of talent around this state, and working hard to keep them home.
So I have to ask, because since soccer is not necessarily the first sport that I was brought up to watch. So I loosely follow the Icelandic soccer team because I'm a big Nordophile. I honeymooned in Iceland this summer, right? So it's just like I love Iceland. I can't get enough of them. And when we were there, all they could talk about was our soccer team. I was like, okay, cool, I can get behind this. Do you have a favorite European team they have to get behind?
Yeah, I love watching the Barclays Premier League. I love watching the games there. And every morning, if you come in on a Saturday and Sunday, we have those games in the in Boozer Family Park there throughout the. So I don't know if there's a specific team that I follow.
Sure.
I'll give our other assistant coach, Matt Smith, a little shout out. His team is Fulham.
Okay.
He's a big Fulham fan, and why he picked Fulham, I think it's kind of like picking the Chicago Cubs over here.
All right.
So,
hey, you're speaking to a Cardinals fan, my friend. So like I'm
a low blow.
No, my thing is it's the Chicago Cubs rarely win, and I feel like Fulham's in the same boat. Now Matt's gonna, if he's listening, sorry Matt, you can give me some trouble but tomorrow. But yeah, we love the game, and I think that's the beauty of our game, as it is worldwide, and there's a lot of players and fans all across the world, all across the country that love this sport. And I know that this is the first. What were you telling me? It's the longest running college.
Yeah, so Wildcat 91.9 is the longest running student-led radio station in the country, perhaps even the world.
And you said the world. That's where I was getting at. So I'm sure there's some people in Iceland right now that are listening to us. And are happy.
You hear that, Kolby?
Yeah. They're like, I saw that guy. He was weird, like over in Iceland. Oh, my gosh. All right, so we're coming up on the 6:20 mark, which would be the end of the show. So, JP, I'm going to give you a chance to rattle off one quick question, then I got one quick question, then we'll close it out.
Absolutely. So, you're coming out on this season. The girls want to get to the Big 12 tournament. What is that gonna like? You guys do the right things. You guys are playing, running drills. You're getting the results that you need to get. If you guys get there, what is that going to mean to the girls there, and what is that going to mean to the program?
Well, I think it goes far beyond even our players. I look at all the supporters in this state and everybody. We've got a lot of fans and boosters that have put a lot of time and energy in here, and everything the Boozer family has done for this program, and the administration, and Coach Dabini, who has built this program from the ground up, and you look at that, and then all the players and the alumni and the current players, I think it'll be special. That's we're making history every time we go out on the field. Last week we scored the 100th goal in the program, so the next big step for us is to get to the Big 12. But I think there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears so far to get there to where we are today. So I imagine a lot of tears of joy when we do get to the Big 12 tournament this year.
That's awesome. And I love how you preface that by saying when we get to the Big 12 tournament this
year. You got to have faith.
Of course. No. I appreciate it.
I think I have that freshman Nancy. I also called like a 10-2 win for the K-State football, like a 10-2 season. So, it's just my answer.
Yeah, no. I can get behind it. That's awesome. My final question for you, Coach, is what kind of statement does a big win at home against Yale on Friday mean for the fans, the players, and the program, considering the record right now? And I believe you are winless at home, or correct me if I'm wrong in that.
Yeah, I read that stat today. We're winless this year, and we've had some, I think it's 7 games in a row where we haven't had a result at home, and we're definitely thinking about that. But, all we could do is work hard like we did this morning, and work hard in training tomorrow, and do the best to be prepared Friday night. But I think that win will, we're excited to be at home and excited to play Yale, and looking forward to a good win on Friday night.
What's going on, YouTube? This is Kolby Van Camp here, the host of Training Camp on Kansas State University student radio station Wildcat 91.9 FM. If you like the content that I've been putting out, be sure to hit the like button, smash subscribe, and ring the heck out of that bell so that you never miss another one of my shows again.